Do we have classic read? You know, just make the dump the classic read.
What
It's
is
some
the
decent. It's some decent Iron Man books.
Yeah, they're not bad. You want to talk about them? I actually glanced at a couple of them. They're not bad. Is it Frank Terry's art? I think.
Yeah, I think so, and I like that art.
Yeah,
It's
I
super.
was looking at the art, and that's not bad storylines either.
Yeah, it's super '90s, but I actually kind of like that stuff.
Is it 90s or early 2000s?
It's like 1998.
Oh, that's right. It's the stuff. It's a Heroes Return stuff,
Yeah,
and a Thor Atlantis Attacks annual. There was like 23 Atlantis Attacks annuals, and eventually they're
yeah,
going to get them all up there.
probably.
Then
Yeah,
they'll say,
this. Go ahead.
now, and then they'll say, "Hey, now you can read all of Atlantis Attacks. Here you go. It's a great
Yeah,
story."
this is one of those books where you can really see where the '90s style of art transitioned into the early 2000s and what we have now.
Yeah.
This is really where a lot of that transition happens.
Yep.
Okay. Um, who are we this week?
Oh, we're nobody for the What's Next podcast.
Oh, yes. Oh, does that mean we're still thinking about it?
Oh, for the
We could
other
be.
podcast,
Yeah.
we can be the Russo brothers.
I was gonna say Paul Feinbaum and Hugh Freeze, but
Okay, I think we've already been them, but we'll be them again. No, man, if we're gonna be Hugh Freeze, we're gonna be Hugh Freeze and Houston Nutt.
yeah, okay, Houston Nutt, that'll do. Yeah, we're Hugh Freeze and Houston Nutt, or OJ Simpson, just to put a weird twist on it.
Or Hugh Freeze and a stripper.
Escort.
Escort.
Yeah.
Hugh Freeze and OJ Simpson. There you go.
Yeah, Hugh Freeze and OJ Simpson. That's two guys who just need to go and do cocaine together. That's what.
Dude, I think OJ's days of doing that are over, but I don't know about Hugh Freeze.
What are you talking about? Hugh Freeze did a bump right after he got that call that he was fired. Nah, I'm just kidding.
Dude, he wasn't even smart enough to use a burner phone.
Dude, it's a $30 straight talk phone at Walmart. Come on, man.
What I'm saying, man. I had a guy in my office that worked for MLGW. He's like, "Come on, man, go buy the burner phone."
Dude, dude. I got the update. Like, I was in the kitchen. I was talking to one of my roommates. I was like, "Oh crap, Hugh Freeze resigned," and we started talking about all the controversy that's going on at Ole Miss. And like 10 minutes later, I get the next one. It's like, "Oh no, it's not about any of that. It's because he called ladies on his phone and talked nasty to them with university phones."
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, dude, numb nuts.
Yeah, yeah.
Are you talking about? Are you going to give the details on House of M, or am I?
No, you're doing House of M, man.
Okay, all right. Okay.
That's fine. I could have. I wasn't prepared.
No, that's fine. We're tag teaming it.
Okay.
Watched a couple good fights last night.
Yeah, that main event was okay.
Yeah, it was all right.
I enjoyed John Jones cussing out Daniel Cormier more than I enjoyed the fight.
Who do you think's going to win that friggin' the one they're all talking about? What's his name?
McGregor and Mayweather?
Yeah, McGregor and Mayweather.
Mayweather.
Really?
Unless he's just old and stupid, which Floyd Mayweather's many things. A wife beater and egomaniac.
Yeah.
A womanizer. He's many things, but he's not stupid.
I don't know. I want to watch that guy get that friggin'. Oh, God, I don't like Floyd Mayweather at all.
Well, I don't either, but dude, I mean, he's one of the greatest boxers of all time, and for all intents and purposes, this is Conor McGregor is an amateur fighter, and this is his first fight.
Yeah, that's a good point. It is his first real boxing match.
That's the reality of this.
Yeah. Oh well, I'm a root for McGregor.
Now, that being said, okay, he hits very hard. He does have experience. And if Floyd is stupid enough to stand there and let Conor McGregor hit him, Conor McGregor will knock him out. But
yeah,
but Floyd's not stupid enough to do that.
Yeah. I mean, McGregor's crawling into his ring.
Yeah, and Floyd's not stupid enough to do that, man. Floyd will make that guy look like a fool, man.
But if Conor McGregor were to win, what do you think that does to boxing?
It puts boxing back on the map, man, because they're going to have a rematch that'll make $1 billion.
Yeah, probably so. And maybe people will be interested in boxing again.
I mean, first off, they're gonna have an undercard on this thing that will help boxing tremendously. Secondly, if by any chance Conor McGregor wins, dude, the rematch will just literally worth $1 billion.
Yeah, probably so. Okay, cool. Let's talk about comic books. All right. You got the intro?
Of course not, but I'm ready.
Okay. Oh, wait. Hang on. Oh. Still nope. All right. There we go. Okay. Counting down. 3, 2, 1.
Hello again. This is the What's Next podcast. I am Pat.
And I am Sean.
And we're here to share with you what you can read on the Marvel Unlimited app once you get through reading the basic things like, I don't know, the Avengers books and, maybe Civil War. We're just here to expand your reading abilities, teach you things you didn't know were there and where to find them. How you doing, man?
I'm good. We're going to point out the hidden gems to you.
The hidden gems that are in the Marvel Unlimited app, which is confusing and clunky and crashy.
Yes, it is, but we still love it.
We do love it because DC doesn't even have one.
Yeah. Apparently they're going to be doing one.
They're in discussions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, it's San Diego Comic-Con this week, so we'll probably get to see some cool stuff. Anyway, we're here to talk this week about the House of M event.
And before we do, you can find all the notes from this podcast on our website at www.6monthsbehind.com, because we're also the guys that bring you the 6 Month Behind podcast. And you can email us at
6monthsbehind@gmail.com. That's the number 6 months behind at gmail.com.
There you go. And we're discussing.
We're talking about House of M this week.
There you go. Thank you very much.
So my whole thing has been lately is to go through and revisit some of these older events. Because, House of M is, 12 years old now, roughly?
Dude, that's not older, man. It's recent.
It's getting there.
I'm going to cover Frank Miller's run on Daredevil. Okay, that's like 40 years old. That's older.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, so for those of you who may not be familiar with the event, most people are. This is your second event, I would say, behind Civil War that people tend to read. So a lot of people are familiar with this series. It was published in 2005, written by Brian Michael Bendis, who was the hot Avengers writer at the time. Art by Oliver Copiel, and covers by Esad Ribic, who did Secret Wars, and is the reason Secret Wars shipped 1 million years late.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And it's great art. Like those House of M covers are all really cool. So for those who aren't familiar with the series, it was an event that happened pretty much directly after Avengers Disassembled. If you haven't read Avengers Disassembled, we did a episode on it. About a month ago?
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
so.
So go back and read that if you're not familiar.
It's on the website.
Right. Essentially, what's happened is the Scarlet Witch has gone crazy, and Pat, give us some background about why the Scarlet Witch is crazy.
The Scarlet Witch was always, and until this most recent series that's started in 2016, I believe, she's always been this character who is somewhat unbalanced. And she just got further, and different writers treated her in different ways that the character didn't make sense, and she was crazy and imbalanced. And she had a couple of kids with the Vision, and they did this storyline where the kids never actually existed, that she created the kids with her powers, and Doctor Strange came and took the kids away from her. And she just got further and further. She just got more and more insane because of her relationship with the Vision and Doctor Strange taking the kids away from her, and her relationship with Magneto, who is or isn't her father. No one really knows at this point. I don't know. I think if you're reading the current issues of her ongoing series now, no one knows who her father is. So it just got more and more convoluted in her grip on reality, particularly in the few issues leading up to this event, became more and more
severe,
fragile.
Yeah.
Okay. She just lost her grip on reality. And the problem is when you have the power that she has, which had been, it had kind of been touch and go for a while, but they finally realized that when you have the power to alter reality, which she does, and you're insane, that's a bad thing. And that's what they're dealing with here in the issues leading up to this, and then in the series.
Yeah. And so what's been happening is that Charles Xavier's keeping her on Genosha along with Magneto to kind of keep her isolated. And Charles Xavier can't contain her for much longer anymore. He's not going to be able to dampen her powers while she's having a mental breakdown.
Yeah, they're keeping her sedated, and when she's awake, he's trying to deal with her. He's trying to dampen her powers, and it's just not working.
Right. Like she's going to kill him before any of this is ever resolved. So essentially he goes to the Avengers and brings in the X-Men, and they all meet together and say, hey, Wanda Maximoff is a problem. We got to deal with her.
Yeah.
And it's funny because in a situation like this normally, because ultimately they decide to kill her.
Yeah.
Like they just decide that, if she's she just destroyed, remember Avengers Disassembled? That was all her. So yeah. Plus there was something that went on in the X-Men books with her. And she's a destructive force that could literally alter reality. If you took an Infinity Gauntlet and gave it depression, that's what you've got here.
Yes.
So they decide to kill her. And she decides to preserve herself in a way that she deems fit. And there's a whole thing with her and her brother and how she gets talked into it, but essentially she remakes the entire world into a world where mutants are a superior race. What she does is she goes back in time to like the 70s and changes a few things, and all of a sudden mutants are not the oppressed race that they had been, they're the ascendant race. And so you fast forward 40 plus years, what does that look like? Well, it looks like a society where mutantism is favored and being a human is considered second class.
Yeah. And when they when the book and all that happens in the first issue, when the series opens in issue 2, the only person who knows, there's two people who know. It's Wolverine knows that this is the way it's supposed to be, and a little girl that Wanda kind of put there as a safety trigger, who knows that that's not the way things are supposed to be.
Right. It's like an anchor.
Yes.
She's like an anchor. Yeah. But I mean, in this first issue, you see this remade reality where, Carol Danvers is one of the hottest celebrities, and Charles Xavier's dead, but Hawkeye's alive. And you have Luke Cage is leading like a human resistance against the mutants, and that's a whole thing. And
right.
And eventually it all ends up in a struggle of humans and mutants. And of course, as we know, it ends with the famous 3 words, no more mutants. And at the end of this, Wanda really breaks. She's been stretched so thin. She's gone so far. This is her hurtling off the cliff. And as reality warps back to normal around her, she declares no more mutants and depowers like 75% of the mutant population.
No. There are literally tens of millions of mutants at that time on the Earth, and when she gets through, there's 198.
Yeah, so it's essentially 99%.
Yes.
So overnight, mutant population gone. You just went. You're an extinct species.
Yeah.
And that affected the mutants that was the ongoing struggle for nearly 10 years.
Yeah. They're still trying to recover.
Yeah. You've had more mutants born, and then you have, other stuff going on. But like we're seeing with IVX, they're at their best when they're fighting against extinction. And I would venture that some of the X-Men stuff that comes after No More Mutants is some really good. It's some really good X-Men writing. It's where X-Force comes in. You have Hope is born. You have that whole thing. But anyway,
the best part of it though is that's where Scott Summers begins to lose his grip on reality.
Yeah, if you read this, this is really the turn for Scott Summers. This is where he goes around the bend.
Yeah, and it's a very slow turn.
It's
a turn that happens over literally.
That's 4 or 5 years.
It begins there in the 198. And it probably reaches its ultimate conclusion during the AVX, not IVX, but the AVX, the Avengers vs. X-Men, where he consumes all the Phoenix power for himself, literally taking it from the other 5 members who have it, or the 4 members who has it, and kills Charles Xavier. That's a spoiler for you if it's been a while. So
Charles Xavier's dead half the time anyway.
He's coming back. He's coming back though. That's where it really reaches its conclusion. So it's like I guess that's from 2007 to 2012. So it's like a 5-year turn, but this is where it really begins, and it's an interesting storyline if you read it.
Yeah, Scott just continues crossing red lines and finding reasons to cross this line and this line and this line, and all of a sudden.
All of a sudden, you got Magneto sitting there talking to him, saying, "Hey, man, I know out of control, and you're out of control."
Yeah,
yeah.
Anyway, it's the 7-issue series. The thing I really like about House of M is that you can read just those 7 issues and get the gist of the story, but you can also read the tie-ins or whichever tie-ins you really want to, and all it does is enhance the story. You just get that side of, hey, what does House of M look like?
Yeah.
So, yeah, good series. Probably one you should familiarize yourself with, as it actually does have some pretty long running repercussions in the Marvel Universe and why things are the way they are now.
Yeah. Very good series. Yeah. And there's some good Avenger stories with it. the Spider-Man tie-in with it. If you want to read
really
a
good.
miniseries that ties in good, that Spider-Man story is really, really good.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've read that one, but if I remember correctly, it's pretty good.
Yeah, it is. It's very good. So,
yeah. Anyway, go read House of M. It's only 7 issues. You can read the tie-ins if you want to. You don't have to. Definitely a good read.
yep.
It's what we're recommending this week.
You can find the notes on the website, which is www.6monthsbehind.com. You can email us your thoughts at
6monthsbehind@gmail.com. Also follow us on Twitter at 6 months behind. That's at the number 6 months behind.
Be sure and listen to our other podcast, which is 6 Months Behind, where we discuss all the books that are coming out this week, some of which some are bad, good, some are bad. You'll hear you'll hear the ravings of a madman sometimes, which is of course Sean, because I'm never the madman.
No, never. Neither of us have temper issues.
No. And we always calmly review each book with a intelligent and calm manner.
Yes.
Yes.
Peaceful demeanor, as we are peaceful men.
Yes. Peace.
Anyway, see you guys. Bye. All right, that was good. That was right about 20 minutes.
Okay.
Give me post the notes.
Sure.
Okay. Oh, code SDCC17 gets you a free month of unlimited.
Okay.
I'm gonna plug that too. Plorp. Got it?
Yeah.
Okay. You know what? I gotta pee. Sorry, man. I'll be back in a second.
Yeah, sure.
All right, I'm back.
Now, what this new Google app does is it isn't just a search engine. It gives you a news feed.
Oh, okay.
It takes everything you've ever done. Thank you very much, and creates a news feed with it.
Okay. They do that in Chrome too occasionally. Just open
Yeah,
a Chrome page and it'll offer 3 or 4.
yeah, but this thing does it much better. That's the point of it. That's what I was trying to
All
point out to
right.
you last night.
Let me go
I
review.
don't care. I don't care if you use it or not.
No,
I'm
I
just
mean
trying to give you a tip.
you got me intrigued.
Dang it, there was a story there from when all the Comic Con feeds were coming out, and they're gone now. There was a story about Marvel restoring Captain America to his righteous glory, and I can't find it now.
Uh,
I was getting lots of Comic Con feeds while that was, or Comic Con news while it was going on.
yeah, we'll talk about some Comic-Con stuff.
Okay. All right. Let's see how much of this I haven't read. And I have no notes whatsoever. So, we're making it up as we go along. Hang on. The cat's got to leave.
Just sitting here waiting.
Hey, I sent you all kinds of stuff, particularly when you're asleep.
Yeah.
But I sent you an app the other day where you can put different headphone sounds through your headphones. And it was, I don't know what it normally costs, $2 or $3 or $4, but it was free on Friday. Did you try it?
Yes. No, I didn't. I was trying to think of it. I didn't understand why you sent it to me, and I think I just kind of forgot about it.
Anyway, I finally got around to trying it last night. I put on some Pink Floyd, plugged in my Audio Technica headphones, and then started trying different headphones. Dude, it was pretty cool. The way it modified the sound of what it thinks each headphone should sound like.
What was the name of it? Well, I can just look through our text. Hang on. You sent it to me.
So it's player, studio music player. Studio music player.
I got it. That's still free.
Is it still free?
Getting it now.
It was pretty cool. you get to play with some of those Beats headphones, man. You get some serious. It's not just bass; it adds depth to the headphones. It was pretty cool, man.
All right, then.
Just for audiophiles like us, it was a neat little app to play with.
Okay. All right.
If you're not an audiophile, you probably wouldn't care. But you know,
no, I do.
For people like us, it's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. I like the Google app too. I just realized how useful it is.
Yeah, I thought it was cool because it literally, and when I read the story on it, you know, if you're one of those people who thinks your entire life history isn't online, okay.
Yeah, you find it
freak
creepy.
you out. Okay, you find it creepy. But if you've just succumbed to the fact that your entire life history is there, they're literally taking your entire browsing history to source these stories for you.
Yes.
So
everything I just scrolled through was about comic books. It was about Comic-Con or whatever, you know, what's going on with the Marvel, the new trailers about stuff.
Yeah, and my CNN stories weren't there because I get them off Twitter. But as I start searching things in that Google search bar at the top, it's adding more and more news feeds there. So, you know, things that I'll be interested in the news as I search for them in that search bar.
Right, it learns.
Yeah, it's learning to okay, he wants news stories from the New York Times, and he wants this, and he wants that, and yeah, so it's learning what I also want to read there too.
Yeah, it has a second card where it looks at like your email and stuff.
Yeah,
and it was like tracking my shipment that I got coming from Amazon and some other stuff. There's like a couple like, hey, here's some important emails that came in the last day or two.
Yeah.
You know, it prioritized them for me. That was pretty neat. Yeah, gonna play with that.
Yeah, as I said, it's pretty cool, man.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? I don't remember.
I don't know.
Oh well, I don't. You know, for most people, the fact that all that stuff being online isn't a huge deal for me.
It's not for me either because
it's a trade-off. I mean, there's certain things.
You know, I realized a long time ago, if I don't want pictures of my penis all over the world, I don't need to put it online.
Yeah, so don't take the picture in the first place. But if you do, certainly don't put it online.
If there's something really important that I need to keep secret, don't put it online.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, write a paper note, then burn it when you're through.
Yeah. I stole the Lindbergh, baby. Don't put that online.
Don't put it online.
No.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're going to talk about comic books now.
Here we go.
All right. Got the intro?
I'm ready.
We're Hugh Freeze and Houston Nutt.
Yes.
Then we're going to talk about Comic-Con.
Yep.
Okay. All right. 3, 2, 1.
What is up? This is the 6 Month Behind podcast for a week of 7/17/17. I am Pat.
And I am Sean.
And we're also Hugh Freeze and Houston Nutt, who had a great week, didn't they?
Dude. Hugh Freeze is a moron.
You know what he did? What he and the University of Ole Miss actually did is Houston Nutt had 6 days of those telephone calls. Because that's what he was able to get during deposition.
Mm-hmm.
And he told Ole Miss, look, I got these 6 days because this is what, you know, where y'all defamed me during. But there's stuff in these 6 days you don't want public. And I know if it's in these 6 days, it's in the rest of it. So why don't you settle your lawsuit with me? And Hugh Freeze was like, I don't really want to do this because you know me. I am a man of God. I didn't do anything wrong. I did. There's nothing there. So Ole Miss stood beside him, man. They didn't fire him. And then Ole Miss got to digging in the rest of the phone records. And what do they find? But he's calling escort services and he's doing all this stuff on his university cell phone. Because while making $4 million or $5 million a year, he doesn't have the common sense to go buy a $30 burner phone.
Yeah. So Hugh Freeze, coach of the Ole Miss football team, is out.
If you're going to take the same university cell phone and tweet scripture on it every day, don't use it to call escorts. That's your tip of the day. That should be your wisdom for today. Okay?
Yeah, maybe just don't call escorts.
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah.
There's a tip.
Like, Hugh Freeze is married.
Hugh Freeze is married with 2 daughters in high school and is, by all reckoning, is a devout Christian. What in the world is he doing? I got nothing.
Yeah.
The website is www.6monthsbehind.com.
You can email us and tell us what you think of Hugh Freeze and our football banter at 6monthsbehind@gmail.com. That's the number 6monthsbehind@gmail.com.
The Twitter?
At 6 months behind, the number 6 months behind. You we're what? Not even 5 minutes in and already a rant.
We've been on the air we've been talking to each other online for like 45 minutes and we've covered all kinds of things. We've already done the What Next podcast, which will be up this week, which was
House of M.
And we've talked about Comic-Con and we've talked about new apps that came out this week or that we found this week. And now we've already into a rant, 5 minutes into the show. Good Lord. Yeah. It just kills me when Christian men who should know better do stupid things like this, man. It's just,
and like,
what are they thinking?
First of all, just don't do it. You shouldn't do it.
Do it.
If you're gonna do it, at least be smart about it.
Just don't do it. Good gosh, man. And I mean, do you not think that as the head of a giant program like Ole Miss football, that people aren't going to get access to your web browser or your university phone or the GPS on your university car? I mean, do you not think this stuff is going to be found out?
The answer is no.
Dude, idiots. I mean, they're just so and these are not the words I want to use. They're just so overcome with their base desires that they lose track of what they're supposed to be doing. Goodness gracious. We talk about spoilers on this show. So if you don't want to know something about what's going on in the Marvel Universe, about something that happened in the past or something coming up in the future, yeah. I let a spoiler slip on the last show.
Spoilers fly fairly regularly around.
They just do. I get in these moods, and there's no telling what I'm going to say. Okay, so they're bringing Charles Xavier back from the dead. You've been warned. Okay, so there you go.
All right. Well, going into that, since we've discussed spoilers now, I want to take a minute. We got plenty of books to review, but I want to take just a second to talk about San Diego Comic-Con, which is going on right now. Right now.
As we speak.
Yes, as we speak, there are people walking the convention floor. And we've had some pretty cool announcements out of it so far.
They're going to make Captain America a human being again and not a Nazi.
Well, that's good.
At least I was actually looking for the story in between shows, and I couldn't find it. But that was the headline, and I didn't even get to read the story. There were so many headlines, so much news coming out of Comic-Con. I didn't get to read that one, but that's somewhere during the Marvel Legacy. Is that the next phase?
Generations.
Generations. Thank you.
Yeah.
They're gonna restore him to where he should be.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
They had all but said that. I mean, there was such a backlash against Secret Empire that they had all but said, "Hey, just hold out and things will go back to the way you want them."
You would hope so.
Yeah. But we got a bunch of announcements. Not everything, but we got a new Thor Ragnarok trailer. We got some details about the Captain Marvel movie, which I don't know how I feel about that. It takes place in the 90s, making it the oldest, chronologically the oldest in the timeline. But it's also going to deal with Skrulls. Don't know how I feel about that. Also, there's a whole thing about like the Skrulls used to be part of the Fantastic Four stuff, and like how is Marvel able to do that? I don't know.
I don't either, but if you introduce the Skrulls, you can introduce a Kree Skrull War and stick the
Inhumans in it.
You stick the Inhumans in it. You stick the Guardians of the Galaxy in the middle of it in one of their movies. That'd be pretty cool.
There's probably I could see the Guardians of the Galaxy showing up in Captain Marvel, even if it's just a stinger at the end.
Or make her one of the Guardians.
Well, it would happen before the formation of the Guardians, but you could that would be a way you could bring her back into the fold, I guess. Anyway, Michelle Pfeiffer cast as Janet Van Dyne for the next Ant-Man movie. Got a new Stranger Things trailer, which was rad. Got a new Star Trek Discovery trailer. Darkwing Duck's coming back. So all the 90s kids are happy. New Justice League trailer that doesn't look bad, admittedly. What else do we get? We got a couple other things, didn't we? Oh, Marvel's going to do a Thrawn series, so we get a comic book Thrawn series, which I'm excited about.
DC is thinking about launching their own version of the Unlimited app, so we can add a new podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway,
or two or three.
Yeah, we love doing this podcast. We got a new Defenders trailer. Todd McFarlane's working on a new Spawn movie. There's just all kinds of stuff going on at Comic-Con. There's some cool stuff, man. Also, the code SDCC, being San Diego Comic-Con, the number 17 will get you a free month of Marvel Unlimited. While I assume while the con's going on. So this weekend.
Yeah.
So the code SDCC 17 is get you a free month.
There you go.
Take your extra $10 and go see Spider-Man Homecoming, which I saw recently, and it was great.
How did it do this weekend?
I haven't looked.
Okay.
I'm sure it did fine. Have you seen it yet?
No.
What's wrong with you?
Last weekend we didn't make it. Yesterday, it's the hottest day of the summer. We've got a heat index of 115 here. Because I don't want to hear about people in other parts of the world who say it's not about the humidity.
It is the humidity.
It is the humidity, because when it's 97 degrees here, we also have 90% humidity. So I'm just like soaking wet. I thought I could start at 9:30 in the morning and be through working in my yard by like 11. Instead, at 1 o'clock, I'm half through, and let's just say I was sick. And I didn't do anything the rest of the day but lay around.
Dude, I did something. I was cutting the grass the other day, and after about an hour, I had to go in and drink a little water and just cool off for a minute.
Literally, it was the hottest day of the year so far. And at one point, I'm thinking, why didn't I do this back in April when it was only like 80 degrees?
Yeah.
You know what? Am I? Yes, I am just stupid. Yes. Just give me the sign. Give me the sign. I'm just stupid.
Okay. All right. Well, we've bantered enough. We should probably get into these comic books.
Yes.
So
IVX number 2.
What did you think of this? First off,
it's good, man. The X-Men continue their attack, and they're on a roll at this point. We'll see if that roll continues in future issues. But yeah, it was good.
Yeah, I enjoyed it myself. So on New Attilan, Medusa's battening down the hatches. She's putting her team into play against the X-Men, and she even puts on the suit herself. She gets suited up in her battle armor. Of course, she knew this was coming, and she was totally prepared for it. You're seeing her put a plan into play here that she has This isn't just her, thinking on her feet. She was ready for this. She probably felt it was going to come to this. So young Beast is able to infiltrate New Attilan and make his way to Dr. Henry McCoy's lab in New Attilan, where he is immediately ambushed by Queen Medusa. However, suddenly Nightcrawler bamps in and teleports off with Medusa. So their whole strategy there was to remove her from the board entirely. If you have, like in chess, if you have the opportunity to take out the queen, probably should do it.
Yes. Now, you text me at one point. Were you confused by this book, or were you confused by Uncanny X-Men, or both?
I'm getting to that.
Okay.
So this leaves young Beast alone to raid Hank's lab. So he's pilfering through all of Hank's stuff. Meanwhile, Sabretooth is in the hangar and also somehow in limbo, as we see in X-Men this week. Continuity, man, who knows?
I followed it.
Did you?
Yes.
So does Uncanny X-Men 17 come after this or before?
It follows shortly after.
Okay.
Once they get all the Inhumans to Limbo, then he and Monet are dispatched to Limbo to find the stragglers.
Okay. So, all right. Somehow I did not make that connection.
Yes.
All right. Well, guess that clears that up.
Yeah, I mean, they were supposed to all be transported to one place in Limbo, which is where that little cage is. And apparently in Uncanny X-Men, some of them didn't make it to exactly that place, and Sabretooth is out looking for them.
Yeah, because as we see later, they took them all to Limbo.
Yes.
So anyway, this scene with Sabretooth is actually really intense. He literally gets set on fire by Johnny Storm and continues fighting them. His whole body is engulfed in flames, but he's so hell-bent on killing these Inhumans that he'll just fight while he's on fire.
That's what he and Wolverine do.
Yeah, it's just, to me, it was just, I really felt the desperation here. It really is an animal fighting for survival. So, of course, we find out the royal family's on Limbo. I don't know who Eldrac is, but that Inhuman girl is raising him out of the ground, and that thing looks huge.
I didn't really know what that was.
I didn't either, and I'm intrigued. And then you got both Wolverines doing what they do best. This is a pretty rad book, dude. This is good.
There are no really slow moments in this book. I mean, Civil War kind of drug at times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Civil War
2.
Or to make sure I had them straight. Civil War 2 kind of drug at times. Everybody's sitting around talking and planning and stuff. There's none of this in IVX. I mean, it's just fight after fight after fight as the issues go.
Yeah, it's action packed, which I really like.
Yeah, it's just from one to another. It's
action packed in a way that it isn't just them all fighting each other. It's not just a big battle in the field. It feels like real warfare.
Right.
There feels like a sense of urgency here. This is for all the chips.
Yeah, it is. It literally is. And it's very high stakes. I mean, the future of the Inhumans is dependent upon the Terrigen Mist, and the future of the X-Men, they're going to die if those Terrigen Mists continue to stay there. And at this point, they don't have any way out of it.
Yeah. You want to talk about no more mutants?
Yeah. That is no more mutants.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this Uncanny X-Men 17 is an interesting book, because what it really deals with, Jean Grey's there in the beginning, and all Jean Grey, Monet, and Sabretooth are all looking for the stragglers when they transported them to Limbo. And Jean Grey and Sabretooth don't get along, and Sabretooth just kind of runs Jean Grey off real quick.
Is that Jean Grey or is that Monet?
That's Jean Grey in the beginning, I believe.
No, I don't know. Let me look at it, but because Jean Grey's fighting with Karnak.
Uh,
It's the wizard battle.
I get all these Phoenix kids confused.
Rachel Grey.
Rachel Grey, Jean Grey, they're all Phoenixes.
Which is same thing. Rachel Grey is almost the same thing as Jean Grey.
Yeah, they're all Phoenixes. They're all got the last name Grey. They're all going to turn into Phoenix, and they're all going to blow up the universe.
Yeah.
But what this book is really about is Monet and Sabretooth struggling to maintain, I want to say, their sanity. That's not really correct. Struggling to control their bloodlust,
to maintain their humanity.
Their humanity, what makes them a hero, if you will, and not just give over to the bloodlust and become a villain again.
Yeah,
that's really what this book is about. And as Sabretooth goes looking for one of the missing Inhumans, he finds Monet basically feeding on it, for lack of a better term.
Yeah,
it's kind of graphic. And she and Sabretooth wind up fighting, and it's Sabretooth's fault because he's been feeding her, and as he's been feeding her, she's been adapting his powers. And this is really kind of a mess, because when she absorbed her brother's what am I looking for here? His vampirish abilities, and those vampirish abilities have to be fed.
Yeah, if you don't remember, it happened a while ago, but he has to feed on mutants to survive. And so he's been feeding on her and is now essentially taking her over. For all intents and purposes.
Right. Yeah. And that's and she's trying to control him, and Wolverine's trying to maintain his wild side, and at the end, Sabretooth. And at the end, they find another kid, and it's kind of sad. Sabretooth just turns the kid over to Monet so she can feed on him too. And it's really I don't know, man. They got a mixed up situation here.
Yeah, and this whole book is about Sabretooth trying not to succumb to his villainous ways. And it's just, he pretty much does.
But in feeding Monet, he is succumbing to his villainous ways.
That's what I'm saying, is he does. He falls to his villainous ways.
Right. So
at the same time, he's also fighting for his survival, and one less than human is good for his survival. So it's kind of it's a horrible decision, but at the same time, you can, I don't know, man. It's not,
it's complicated, man.
Yeah, it's not clear cut. It's complicated.
Right.
Like Facebook says, it's complicated.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Those were our IVX books this week. Moving on to Spider-Man. We have Spider-Man Renew Your Vows number 3. Well, I'll tell you what I think of this after I review it, but it's got a pretty cool cover. As we're seeing with Marvel, they're really doing interesting things with their art these days. It seems like they're going for really bright colors in all their books, and they just really pop. I mean, when you walk into a comic book shop, you see these on the shelf.
Yeah, you do.
And like we've been talking about in Daredevil and a couple other books, the use of color in some of these books that they've been doing and the art is just top notch. So anyway, we begin this issue with a day in the life of a young Spider Girl. School's hard and adults are dumb, but suddenly she gets hit with this crazy spider sense vision of her parents under attack from the Mole Men. And she has to spider stealth her way around school and sneak out. Then she can suit up and run off to save her parents, and now you see how she probably got in over her head here. As she's been kidnapped by mole men. So the Parker family is going to have to fight its way through an army of mole men to get out of this. And meanwhile, that Osborn kid's up to something. I don't know what that's about. we're always supposed to suspect that the Osborns are villains, but I have a feeling that this kid's something different.
Yeah. I don't know. The Osborns have flipped back and forth over the decades between being villains and heroes, and particularly Harry. Not always Norman, but the kids, and particularly Harry, have flipped back and forth.
Yeah, Harry's always walked a tightrope. So also, the Mole Man is super creepy in this. Like this version of the Mole Man in particular is kind of off-putting.
Right.
And I guess if you think about it, like the Mole Man's kind of gross in general. Like, remember Squirrel Girl from a little while ago?
Yeah, where he was in love with Squirrel Girl and hitting her.
Right, and like wouldn't take no for an answer, and it was all real. It was just kind of creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the book's okay. It's all right. It's very much yay Spider Family. It's kind of
but that's what you want, isn't it? Isn't that what you want out of New Year vows? You want the Spider family back together, and you want Mary Jane and Peter living happily ever after, and you want the daughter. I mean, isn't that what you want here?
Yeah, all the people who hate on Spider-Man for Brand New Day, this is essentially what you get without Brand New Day, and it's not bad. It's not good. I don't love it, but I don't want to murder it.
Okay.
I mean, I just, it's mediocre.
It is what it is, man.
It's fine. It's fine.
Okay. That brings us to Silk number 16, which is a Clone Saga tie-in. Last issue we had Cindy Silkworm technically in this book. By the way, while we were talking about art, let's talk about art. I'm still not down with the art in this thing. I'm not going to beat it up because last month I beat it up inherently. This is not my art style. Maybe it's yours. It's not mine.
It's okay. I'm not in love with it or anything. It passes.
It fails.
I mean, what I mean is it's passable. I don't love it or hate it. It's just there. I kind of don't think about it when I'll read this book.
Yeah, I just read the book. I just read and don't look at the art. How about that?
Yeah.
So anyway, I can't find this villain's name, or not the villain, the girl that's helping Cindy. Was fighting Cindy last issue, is helping her now.
Yeah, her name is Maddie.
I couldn't find that anywhere.
She's Maddie Jameson.
His daughter?
Yes.
I thought Maddie was his wife.
No. Unless I totally read this wrong.
Don't worry about it. Anyway, so we'll go with Maddie. All right, we'll go with Maddie. Somebody send us an email if we get it wrong. So they start talking, and apparently she's as suspicious of New You. Once she and Cindy talk a few minutes, she's as suspicious of New You as Cindy is. So they get to looking around, and they want to go somewhere where there are no cameras. So they go down into a basement and find a place called Haven, where they find that Dr. Octopus, who captured Spectre, also known as Hector, Cindy's boyfriend, last issue, and has now cloned him into a real person. And they have a happy get back together reunion. Everybody's happy. They sit there in a malt shop and have a malt. And then they go outside, and J. Jonah Jameson's there, and everybody's living happily ever after. Except everyone knows this isn't the way this is supposed to be. And even the whole town's kind of creepy because they've built this town for all the clones to live in. And it's just, it's just kind of weird.
It's that very Perfect Town USA feel. And it's like, this is weird. Kind of like how Pleasant Hill was.
Yeah, kind of like from the movie Pleasantville also. It's just kind of weird.
Yeah, it's so scrubbed and clean and that it's like, this is creepy.
Yeah. So then we cut back to Cindy's dad, who is meeting with some people, and he's giving him some information, but apparently someone is telling him word to word what to say to him. So
yeah.
That's kind of creepy. And I didn't recognize who that was. Do you?
No, I don't recognize her either. It's a woman clearly, but I'm not sure who.
Yeah, I'm
And,
not
and
either.
it's page 13 where we see her walk out of the malt shop, and she's stopped by Jonah on the street, and he calls her Maddie, and I assume that's his daughter.
Sure. Okay. I'll go with it.
Yeah.
Works for me. So then we go back to Cindy and Hector sitting there talking and kissing. And then some kind of alarm goes off. And there's another guy there, and a couple of doctors come and get the other guy. And we don't know what causes this loud sound, but the clones aren't responding well to it. And there's a reference to, it'll be, we'll find out what causes the alarm in the next Clone Saga issue, and that's how the book ends.
Yeah, it was.
It's not bad.
Yeah, it's a tie-in, but it kind of seems a little irrelevant to the whole story.
Well, I don't know, man. You brought Hector back to semi-life.
Well, it's relevant to Silk and everything, I guess, but it's not relevant to the clone conspiracy thing, really.
Right. Well, yeah, it is. I mean, they're hanging out at New You, and you. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, it's all right. It wasn't great. It's fine.
Yeah.
Anyway, Spider-Man number 12. So hey, what's up with Spider-Man and upside down kissing?
I don't know. He's been doing it for decades.
Is that some kind of like spider kink?
I don't know.
It's just into that.
It's what they do, man.
Okay. Weird.
They're spider people.
Yeah. Anyway, Miles Morales and Gwen Stacy are standing on top of a building in their spider suits, just straight up making out. Yeah. Now, readers, you might ask yourself, how could this have been done? Well, Miles is retelling the story to Genki and Fabio in their dorm rooms, and it has to do with Miles's dad. So as Miles is retelling the story, Miles gets a panicked phone call from his mom telling him his dad's missing. This is Miles's retelling of the story, not what happens. Anyway, so Miles is looking for some help because he doesn't know where to find his dad, and he doesn't really have anybody he can go to. And he's just kind of running around panicked and not sure what to do when suddenly Maria Hill drops out of the sky and offers him exactly what he wants. Information about his dad, because that's what Maria Hill does. She's manipulative like this. Manipulative.
That's what S.H.I.E.L.D. agents are, and that's what Maria Hill is.
Yeah. So this is when he learns that his dad used to be a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent and has joined back up with S.H.I.E.L.D. with the intention of protecting his son, who he knows to be Spider-Man. So Maria tells Miles that his dad's gone missing on a mission to an alternate Earth, and she sends Miles off to rescue him. And do you wonder if Maria Hill set this up?
You know, it would be nice to have another Spider-Man working for you, so it's possible.
Well, no, what I mean is, like, she has to be aware of Spider-Gwen and knows where Earth she's from. Is it possible that she set this all up just so they'd run across each other?
Yes, it's possible.
Anyway, Miles lands on Earth 65, which just so happens to be the universe his dad went off to. And he begins searching for his dad. He manages to run across Gwen Stacy, Spider-Woman of this Earth. And I think this is going to be a fun little story. It'll be a neat little team up, spider team up. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not really down on the idea of Miles and Gwen. Like you want to stoke a romance there. I think that's not out of the question.
Yeah. Why are you not down with it?
No, I'm saying I'm good with it. I like it.
Oh, okay. You like it. All right. I got it.
Alternate Earth Spider-Man falls in love with alternate Earth Spider-Woman who happens to be Gwen Stacy. Yeah.
The movie ratings for this week are sales for this weekend just came in over my Twitter, and Spider-Man wasn't on it. So
that's so strange to me.
Dunkirk did 50 million.
Dunkirk is apparently really good.
Girls Night, what's this thing called? Girls Night Out?
It's a Queen Latifah movie.
Girls Trip did 30 million, and Spider-Man isn't listed, which means it did less than 30 million.
Well, that's all right then.
There you go. Speaking of Spider-Man, Spider-Man Deadpool number 13. Now, it just totally confused me when I started reading it. Because when I started reading it, Spider-Man is being cared for by Deadpool, who is recovering from injuries in Weird World. And I had to stop and think, actually, they've got transporter injuries because Deadpool's teleportation device caused them problems when they teleported. Wait, didn't that just happen last week in an issue also? Oh, of course it did. Anyway, and I had to stop and think, when did they teleport? How did they wind up in Weird World? Where did this happen? And this is completely confusing because they're wanting to turn this book out every 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Tell you what, let me review the book. Let me review the book, and then we'll back up and talk about it.
Okay.
So they're recovering in Weird World, and Deadpool's got some kind of device that helped them get to Weird World. I'm not really sure what it is. They look out, Eternity's hip pocket, and see Eternity, who's not in chains. Again, help.
Yeah, continuity.
Help yourself.
Not important.
Then Morgan Le Fay shows up, and Spider-Man just makes a deal with Morgan Le Fay because he's over it. And then they go help some armies who are fight because they they just want to leave. And
this sounds a tad confusing.
It's totally confusing. Then Slur Bartarth is there, the forgotten ageless before the Alpha and before the Omega, and he's there. And Deadpool's really over the whole thing, and Spider-Man's over the whole thing. So they kind of
sounds like you're kind of over this book.
I'm over this book. And then Spider-Man beats him up, and then they're like, okay, we've only been gone 4 hours in real time because time moves differently in Weird World than it does in normal 616 time. So how much can Itsy Bitsy have done in the time that we've been gone? And they get back, and Itsy Bitsy has killed and captured a lot of people in the 4 hours they've been gone. And here's my problem with this book is this is issue 13. So in issue 10, they're fighting Itsy Bitsy. Mm-hmm. Okay. And what I thought happened at the end of issue 10, which was, I guess, 6 weeks ago, 2, 4, maybe 8 weeks ago, either 6 or 8 weeks ago. And I had to go back and reread like the last 10 pages of it to understand how I got here. They were fighting Itsy Bitsy. They were getting their butts kicked. And the only way they could think of how to get out of it was for Deadpool to blow up the building that Itsy Bitsy was in. So that they were in. They and Itsy Bitsy were in. So at the end of the issue, you see Itsy Bitsy escaping, and you assume, and I assumed, that Deadpool and Spider-Man got out also, which is what I thought happened. But they didn't. They used this little mirror that Deadpool had and reached for there to transport themselves over to Weird World. Now, that's fine, but they want to ship this book every 2 weeks. So to ship it every 2 weeks, they're using different writers to do fill-in issues. Mm-hmm. So you do that. Now, that was Itsy Bitsy Part 2 that you got, let's just say, 8 weeks ago. Then they did that fill-in that Penn Teller wrote.
Yeah.
Then they did the Christmas issue. Now you're back with Itsy Bitsy Part 3, And I'm supposed to remember what happened 8 weeks ago.
Yep.
Now, if you want to ship the book every 2 weeks, and this is one of their best-selling books, all right, this thing's in the top 10, 15 every month.
Of course it has, but their two biggest heroes on it.
If you want to ship this thing every 2 weeks, figure out a way where I can keep continuity going and I can keep this stuff fresh in my mind, because I'd just be torqued off if I had this thing on a pull list and I was pulling this crap, and 1 week I got Penn Teller, and then 2 weeks later I got a Christmas issue, and then I finally got this after 3 weeks. I'd be irritated.
Yeah. Buy the trade, I guess. If
you get the trade, those stupid issues are going to be stuck in there. I mean, you're going to be paying for 6, and 4 and 2 of them are going to be the Penn Teller and the Christmas issue.
Sure, but it's the way you read trade paperbacks is in a larger chunk, and it may make more sense that way. But you shouldn't have to do that,
dude. It just
ship the book once a month.
And the thing is, Joe Kelly and Ed McGuinness are doing great writing here, but they got Penn Teller, writing an issue, and somebody else drawing it, and whoever did that Christmas piece of junk. and this is a great issue. The Itsy Bitsy story is a great issue. They're just having to do fill-in stuff to keep the thing shipping on time.
Because it's a Deadpool book and they're trying to make you buy comic books.
I understand, man. And they're just so greedy for money.
Instead of leading with the good Deadpool story that everybody's actually interested in, and the only people picking up this book are really interested in, they do this stuff in order to sell extra books.
Yeah, it
sucks.
This story is good. That's the thing. This story is good. I was just so confused reading it. And I had to back up and read another issue to understand what was going on in this issue. That you can tell it burned me out on the issue. It burned me out in the book because it so irritated me trying to get it done.
Right. And eventually you just get fed up with it. You quit caring about the story and you just drop it.
Right. It irritated me. And you could sense my irritation.
One day we will talk about some of the sacred cows within the comic book industry that the industry really needs to address or break up with. One of them is monthly issues, not writing for the trade, but publishing monthly issues, which is what they do these days.
Yes.
And the idea that something needs to come out once a month or twice a month or 4 times a month.
I sent you an article, and you probably didn't read it. People don't know about your work schedule, so they don't understand when I send you articles and when you do.
Sometimes I do.
Well, it's got to do with your work schedule, but anyway, back during the 90s, at the height of the comic sales before the comic crash, adjusted for today's sales, the sales would have been $1.4 billion a year. With trade paperbacks factored in, sales this year, or last year, I should say, would be $1.1 billion. So they're actually within shouting distance of being where they were before. Problem is that, number one, that's not going through comic book stores. Number two, it's in trade paperbacks. So they're killing the single issues to do it, which is just all bad, man.
But I wonder if you have to.
I don't think so.
No, I think we'll talk about it another time, but I think the single issue is a relic. Anyway.
I think if you want to trade, it is, yes. If you want to, yeah. If your goal is to eventually turn it into a trade, yeah, it is. But at the same time, Tom King proved that you can ship 12 issues on time with good writing, good art, and still get 2 good trades out of it.
Sure.
With the Vision series.
Then why not just release it all in trade format?
Because it takes me a year to draw it and write it. So if it's going to take you a year to do it, why not release an issue at a time?
Maybe we'll debate it another time. We'll stick a pin in that.
Okay. So on to our Avengers series, and we begin with Great Lakes Avengers number 4. God bless them. The only redeeming part, well, let me review it. So we begin where they've captured Neon Rouge, and he's in the closet of the Avengers headquarters. Now, I always hesitant to call these guys Avengers, but they are. So he's in their closet of their headquarters where Bertha and this other young lady had him tied up. And basically he's taunting him, saying, hey, you're not going to do anything to me. And we have a brief origin story of him where he tried to be the normal hero and he couldn't do anything. So he realized he could get more done on the city council with villains helping him to revitalize the city and run out crime. So Bertha leaves because their lawyer is about to show up, and he's left alone with this young lady. She's the one who turns into the werewolf, and I can't remember her name. And Bertha says if he does anything to him, if he moves, kill him. And Neon Rouge coughs, and she says, well, that's a move, so I get to kill you. About that time, the Avengers lawyer shows up. And, of course, they're all fighting over who's going to lead the team. And when Mr. Immortal and Bertha, why they broke up, and the werewolf girl actually does attack Neon Rouge and begins putting a serious beat down on him. And there's a funny scene here. I wish I could remember these young ladies' names. It's the lawyer and her assistant. The lawyer wants to date a superhero and can't find one. And her assistant, Amy, she makes a comment about Amy, about how she's never going to date a superhero, and jokes and says, haha, me dating superheroes. Of course, that's never going to happen. Turns out she was with Gambit the night before, and she's texting him.
All right, then.
And you know, the lawyer is the only redeeming part of this book. It's just her name is Snurd, and that's the only redeeming part of this book. And anyway, so they have to act inconspicuous because they've got the Neon Rouge locked up in the back, and they don't want her to know about it. And of course, she eventually finds him. And the last scene is where they drop him off at the emergency room. They just kind of kick him out of the flatmobile, all tied up with a note saying, "I'm a criminal," where the werewolf is beating to pieces. It was so. Wasn't great.
Yeah. Is this thing getting canceled?
Probably.
I think it. I don't know how much longer this thing's going on.
Probably.
If I remember correctly, it was not in the solicitations for October that I read recently.
It wasn't great.
Yeah. You know, what are you gonna do? Anyway, Occupy Avengers number 3. Hawkeye and Red Wolf have come to Chicago to recruit Nighthawk to their team. So Nighthawk responds as anyone would and beats the crap out of Hawkeye, because last time he saw Hawkeye, he said, "If I ever see you again, I'll kill you," and he intends to make good on that promise. Meanwhile, Red Wolf and what's Nighthawk's sidekick lady? What's her name?
I don't know, but she's got the hots for Red Wolf.
Yeah,
I read this yesterday, and I can't remember her name. Godly.
Yeah, they're flirting with each other. So they eventually come to a truce and go to Nighthawk's lair, and they hand over whatever they've brought to Nighthawk and his assistant, which they need help with, and it turns out to be the head of an LMD of some kind, and some sort of goo that makes LMD skin. So they analyze this. They kind of find somewhere they think that it might have originated from. They sneak into this facility that they suspect is harboring some of this skin goo or whatever. and they're quickly discovered and confronted by an LMD Nick Fury and LMD Dum Dum, who maybe is real Dum Dum since he's an LMD now,
You
or
know,
maybe all LMDs Dum Dum Dugan now. I'm confused.
I was really confused by the last couple of pages of this book. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, LMDs are a problem, yo.
Yeah.
That's what's going on in this book.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in Uncanny Avengers 19, briefly, the Red Skull is continuing his attack on the Avengers, and the Deadpool is trying to rally everyone, and I don't think he's succeeding yet because the Red Skull is just quickly amassing Avengers, and those he can't amass, he's taking over. He takes out the Red Skull, or not the Red Skull. I'm sorry, he takes out the Human Torch by convincing him that giving him nightmares about hurting the Fantastic Four. He takes out Cable, which is an Omega level mutant, which is actually pretty cool because he convinces Cable that he kills him. And when it's all said and done, he's basically got the Human Torch. Well, he's got all the Uncanny Avengers: the Human Torch, Quicksilver, Dr. Voodoo, Janet Van Dyne. He's got them. He's got them all brainwashed and on his side. Basically, everybody but Deadpool and Rogue.
Yeah,
and it's really interesting how he's doing it because he's finally using the brain of the Red Skull of Xavier, how it should be used. Which why hasn't he done this before now, as we discussed last month?
Right, like why hasn't everybody in the world been turned into a Hydra agent?
I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Totally believable, bro. Totally believable.
Yeah, I don't.
That's kind of killing this book for me. Is like otherwise it's pretty good, but the fact that he's had Xavier's brain forever, I mean, legit like 3 or 4 years.
Right.
And he hasn't done anything with it till now.
Yeah. And at the end, Deadpool finds a couple of people to help him. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, it's okay. It's getting there. Let's put it this way. It's getting there, which is what I'm looking for.
Yeah, well, it was all right.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I thought it was better than all right, but you think it's all right, so okay.
Yeah, I didn't hate it. Anyway, all new Wolverine number 16. Another really cool cover here, reminiscent of Wolverine cover.
Of what cover?
The Wolverine series.
It's a Weapon X series from Marvel Premieres.
Yeah, that's right. It's a throwback to another Wolverine cover. So Laura's being tortured by her captors, which is basically the Weapon X program. Meanwhile, back on the other ship, Gabby's trying to figure out a way to help Laura. Weapon X tortures Laura for like a week and then releases her into the city of Madripoor and gives her trigger scent. She goes off to assassinate some tiger lady. I forget exactly what her significance is. I know that the lady from Weapon X that kidnapped her is trying to climb she's trying to take over Madripoor, and killing this lady somehow helps. Yeah. And then Gambit shows up or something. It was fun.
I thought my review was lackluster and I didn't care, dude.
It was okay. It's whatever. Can't all be home runs.
Okay.
How did you feel about it?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't get this one read.
Oh, okay. Well, just so you know, it was fine.
I suffered through reading Guardians of the Galaxy number 16, and I didn't get this read. So there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So moving on to Captain America number 9, Captain America Steve Rogers number 9, which was much better than all.
I was about to make another comment about Guardians of the Galaxy, but I'll save it.
Yeah, save it for when we actually review that.
It's coming.
That burning pile of garbage. Anyway, so as we have been doing the last couple of issues, this whole issue flashes back and forth between like 1940s young Steve Rogers training as a Hydra agent and present day. So Steve's grown up a little bit, but he's not really any better at the physical aspects of being a Hydra agent, and his teachers are evaluating him. They're deciding what to do with him. Meanwhile, in present day, the trial of Maria Hill gets underway, and they're putting her on trial for Pleasant Hill and the Kobik thing and everything else. And then you've got a grown Captain America fighting cultists in Scotland. So it turns out Maria Hill's put together a really good defense of herself. She basically goes for like the positive character witness thing. All these regular people that like her because she saved their lives or saved someone they love. A reformed criminal who was the one guy that actually enjoyed living in Pleasant Hill.
I thought that was cool.
Yeah, a little bit. But that's the whole thing, is she's trying to convince the jury that, hey, this isn't, this is not as bad as they're making this out to be. And even Captain America testifies against her in court, while also simultaneously fighting some cultish hellbeast in Scotland. I wasn't sure how that worked, but whatever. And then she gets up and basically presents her case. And that's bad. We live in a world where bad things happen, and I keep them from happening to you. And then she debuts her big project that she's been working on, which is a literal shield around the planet that somehow makes the planet kind of look like the Death Star. Did you notice that?
I didn't, but now that you mentioned it, did. Yes.
Yeah, it's kind of got this Death Star vibe to it. Anyway, she says, hey, I've made this big shield thing and it'll keep us safe, and here's how. And listen, you're not going to put me in prison because you need people like me, just like you used to need people like Nick Fury and whoever came before him. Meanwhile, Cap deals with, I don't know what this dude did, but he gets killed by cultists.
He was the guy behind the cultist.
Yeah. I'm still not sure what the whole cultist thing is about or what it's relevant to.
The cultists were trying to run people off from that part of Scotland so he could do fracking and oil drilling there.
Oh, I got it. Okay.
He was to swing vote that Maria needs to stay in power. Right.
And he's now taking her out. That makes sense. Okay. Yeah, this thing's full of political intrigue, and I don't always follow it.
Yes, but understand there's nothing going on in this book that is not tied to Secret Empire.
Right. So back in 1940, his teachers finally decided to give Steve his first assignment, which is to infiltrate Project Rebirth in New York. And we all know what happens there.
Yeah.
It was actually pretty good. I didn't hate it.
Yeah, I figured it out. I charted it out. We're going to get Secret Empire in October, which means it's 4 months away, because I wanted to know how many issues of Captain America, how many issues of Thunderbolts, how many issues of a couple of these series.
Yeah, trying to figure out how far out we are.
Right, how far out we are from Secret Empire. And essentially, we're 4 months away. Every issue, everything you saw in this Captain America issue is leading directly towards Secret Empire. From those Chitauri last issue to this planetary shield to Maria Hill either staying in power or being removed from power, all of this is leading directly to. There's nothing here that's not important in Secret Empire to come.
Keep your eyes peeled, folks.
Yeah. Okay. That brings us to Daredevil number 15. This is a great book. And
it was really good.
I don't know where they're going with this, but I am really, really looking forward to it. Whenever Daredevil needs a secret identity, he often uses Mike Murdock, his brother, who isn't blind. And he goes into the bar with no name, which is where all the secret villains hang out to get contracts, and puts a contract out on himself to be killed, to kill Daredevil, I should say.
Yes.
And then he checks up on Blind Spot, who isn't really improving. And what happens is he's only got B-list killers coming to kill him, which doesn't really work for him.
Right. He can dispatch them pretty quickly.
Right. And we have this little interlude between Carlos and Mike. Excuse me, Carlos and Steven. And apparently Carlos has gotten some kind of inhuman power, which is interesting. And he's dispatching all the B-list heroes pretty easily. And finally, Matt goes in and talks to the priest, which, you know, is it's an interesting conversation. Whenever Matt Murdock / Daredevil goes in and talks to priest, it's always interesting because
it's always significant.
Right, because he's always having trouble trying to reconcile the good and evil that is in the world, that's in him, that he does, everything that happens, and what he's doing to prevent it, to keep it from happening, to what he has to do to keep these things right.
Right. Like, I mean, so much of it is he feels a righteous fury about these things that happen in the world. So he decides to take action, but in doing so does something that people may see as wrong. So he has to balance, or things that he does may cause things to happen that are terrible, that he had, you know, unintended consequences. So it's this struggle of how do you balance this?
Right. It's a cause and effect. And as we're fixing to see, he causes things that has effects that he don't see. There are consequences out there happening that he doesn't see. In this case, he doesn't understand that this guy Carlos is going to try and come kill him. He doesn't expect it to happen. And right as Carlos is moving in for the kill, well, his old buddy Bullseye, which he was probably is one of the ones he was looking for, takes a shot at Daredevil, and we believe he hits Carlos. We're not sure, but you know,
that's the implication.
That's the implication, and that's certainly one of the unintended consequences of what happened there. Absolutely great issue.
Yeah, I keep saying it. I feel like what we're reading now, in a few years, we're going to consider classic Daredevil reading, like must-read Daredevil stories.
Yeah. And my Deadpool simply is not loading, which is wonderful. But I can tell you about it. It's where Deadpool and Claire finally throw down with what's that little monster's name? Deadpool and Preston.
Bob Saget.
Dude, you sent me a text one night, like months ago, discovering that Bob Saget was dirty. I was like, dude, I've known
the 80s. I've known that for a long time. It's just, I sometimes forget, and then I see his stand up, and I'm just like, oh. And understand, I do not offend easily. I listen to some rough comedy. I'm a stand-up comedy fan, and I listen to some stuff that'll make you cringe. And Bob Saget makes me uncomfortable sometimes.
Dude. And here's the thing. Everybody thinks Bob Saget is the guy, particularly when the show was happy, right? So everybody thinks he's this happy-go-lucky family guy, and they would like take their kids to his comedy act, you know, or they would go to his comedy act. What's the name of the show?
Full House.
Full House. They would go to his comedy act expecting the dad from Full House, and
or the guy from America's Funniest Home Videos.
Yeah, and then they would get his comedy acting, they would be like, oh,
Yeah.
Dude.
And it got to where he just had to, he has to advertise the fact that he works blue.
Dude.
Very blue.
It's like, you people just don't know. Y'all just don't know.
Those who do know, they know. Anyway, Deadpool number 24.
So Deadpool met with Strife last issue. He got the cure for his family. He gets it to Agent Preston, and they were smart enough to put a tracer on the phone to find out where Madcap is. Turns out, after all this time, Madcap is inside Hydra Bob.
Of course he is. Of course he is.
Of course he is. And it's just, did you read this?
I did not.
It's gross how Madcap sticks out of Bob. It just is. He sticks out of his stomach. Uh-huh. So anyway, Preston and Preston and Deadpool go after him, and they finally find a way to defeat him, to defeat Madcap, or at least they think they do. It's just gross, man. Madcap is crawling around like this deformed baby with no legs, and
I see now. Oh,
yeah, it's thank you. So anyway, Deadpool was in the Shield cafeteria, and he beats up a what do you call it? A
Shield agent?
A mascot.
Okay.
Thinking that Madcap might have been there. Well, actually, Madcap wasn't one of the mascots. Deadpool just didn't beat up the right one. And everyone thinks they're safe and living happily ever after, but Deadpool knows not only is he out there, but he owes Strife a deal, which is, it's all bad. And it's a good conclusion to the storyline. It's they all got out alive. Hydra Bob, Deadpool, Agent Preston got out alive. Unfortunately, Madcap got out alive. The kids are fine. It's actually a very good ending to the storyline, and it's a good Deadpool story. It's from the first 18 or 19 issues. This Deadpool series it had the happy Deadpool, and it wasn't really working. And with this, it kind of made it back into the, I won't say the sad Deadpool, but the Deadpool who struggles with who he is and struggling to kind of survive with who he is and making who he is work. And it's a much better story when he struggles with his humanity and when he struggles with how he is and who he is. He's a much better character that way.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and this was a good issue, and a good ending to the story arc.
That's good.
Yeah,
I'm glad that Deadpool has been fairly good.
Yeah, here's the thing. This Deadpool book is good. The Spider-Man Deadpool book is good. If that's all we had, it would be fine. If you just had those two books, it would be fine.
Even a third one.
Maybe even a third one. Instead, dude, we're getting half a dozen. We're getting half a dozen a month, man, and it's just too many. It's just too many.
It really is. Doctor Strange and the Sorcerer Supremes #4. This is a book I could actually deal with more of. I actually really like this story. I also like that with each new issue, we get to know these other Supremes a little better. Because some of them, this is the first time we've seen them or have seen them in a long time. And yeah, if nothing else, the characters are intriguing. So the Supremes attack the Forgotten in its lair. And when they do, Newton pulls a surprise on him. He's able to break the Forgotten loose by using its own magic, which is supposed to be unknown to everyone. And it transforms back into all the people that the monster was originally comprised of. Newton then horrifically tears open the chest of one of these people and pries out a big book. A book that he refers to as the Word of God. And now Newton intends to become God using that book. So we've seen this before, and it didn't work out well for Doctor Doom. So I don't know what Isaac Newton's doing here, but it seems bad.
Yeah, it does. It
And
doesn't look like it's going to end well either.
I have an idea of where it might be going. I'm not gonna explore it, but I have an idea. I have a theory. So Newton then rips the Ghost Rider from Kushala, taking on that power. He's essentially revealed that he has the same power as the Forgotten, and now he's got Ghost Rider. So he pretty much beats up all the other Supremes pretty quickly and locks them all in the cell of the Forgotten. And this book is just, it keeps getting weirder.
I have a little trouble following it.
It is a little convoluted.
Keeping track of all these characters and everything that's going on, but it's a good book. It's a good book.
Yeah, I like it. Also, how familiar are you with Arthurian legend and Merlin in particular?
Okay. Not at all.
There's a cave that Merlin's fate is being forever locked in this cave. And there's a lot of parallels between this story and with going on with the Forgotten and the prison it was in, and also the story where Merlin gets trapped in this cave. And Merlin's tricky, dude. He's got something planned.
Yeah, you can tell he's up to something.
Oh yeah, he's plotting.
Yeah. So that brings us to Fool Killer number 3, which
I love this book. It's really good.
This is good. This is. And who is this guy? Did he take up the mantle of Fool Killer at some point, I guess?
Yeah, I think there's been 2 Fool Killers along the way, and
this is apparently the second one.
Yeah, apparently so.
What's his second name? Besides Kurt, what's his second name?
I think that's it. I don't know anything about him.
So we'll call him Kurt. So the issue begins with him killing a couple of people. Actually, it kind of begins with a flashback with him in an asylum. But besides that, he kills a couple of people. And then we cut to the SHIELD agent, Greg and or Gary, excuse me, and our man Fool Killer, and they're discussing what he has and hasn't done. And they explain that they're happy with his work. And then they take Kurt and wheel him into Fool Killer's office. And they begin having a conversation because apparently they're old friends. There you go. Discussing what he is and isn't doing. And Kurt begins explaining to him that this whole thing is a racket. That the 2 guys that Fool Killer is working for aren't really with SHIELD, that they're just using him to assassinate people. They're basically using Fool Killer as an assassin to kill other people, and they're collecting the bounty and just making a, pun intended, fool out of Fool Killer.
Right, exactly.
They're just using him as the hitman, and they're collecting the bounty. And it takes Gary a few minutes, takes Fool Killer a few minutes to catch on to figure out what's happening. And, there's a lot of banter back and forth. But the SHIELD agent finally shows up, and, they're arguing, and they're trying to decide who's right and who's wrong. And finally, one of them puts a bullet in the SHIELD agent's head, and you realize it's Fool Killer. It's our hero.
Yeah.
He's the one that did it. And you hate to see him having been, this life that he created for himself, having go up in flames like this. But, it kind of did, because he was happy. And now it's just an illusion that's gone away.
And it's like he couldn't help himself. He knew he shouldn't do it. He really didn't want to do it, but it's almost like he could not physically stop himself from doing it.
Right.
Because that's just who he is. I'm really enjoying this series, man.
Yeah, this is a really good series.
You took a 2-dimensional Deadpool sidekick and turned him into a complex character.
Yeah. This is a really good series.
Yeah.
And I'm enjoying where it's going.
Me too. And I hope it continues for a while.
Absolutely.
What was awful was this Guardians of the Galaxy book. This book sucks. This book sucks. The whole thing is a go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
The whole thing's just a poem about Groot. It's stupid. Groot loves Earth. The people on Earth love Groot. Groot fights the armadillo. Groot wins. Everybody loves Groot. Yay, Groot. I like Groot too, but this poem, like, dude, whatever they're doing with the Guardians of the Galaxy right now is just, it doesn't do it for me.
I'm trying to decide where to start. First off, the series is called Earthbound, and they're stuck on Earth. And whether it's Rocket's individual series solo book or the Guardian solo book or Peter Quill solo book, whatever. Right.
They've all got their own solo books, and they're all grounded on Earth, and they all suck.
And it's just, I don't care. Okay, that's the point. I don't care. Secondly, this reads like Brian Michael Bendis, who we have sung the praises of for hours, was how mushrooms wrote the poem while he was completely stoned, and then found him an artist that he got high with and had to draw it. That's how this thing reads, man, and it's just bad. I mean, Bendis is brilliant, and this is just bad, man.
He's doing so many other things. It feels like this is the thing he phoned in.
I guess. I don't know.
Maybe somebody likes it. If you do, send us an email, but it was bad.
It was bad, man. It was just bad.
Mighty Thor was not bad.
It was not. This was just awesome. We begin with, and I was going to ask you a question. Let me review it first.
Mm-hmm.
We begin with Heimdall guarding the Rainbow Bridge as he does, and it comes under attack, and it's Gladiator from the Shi'ar Empire, and he just launches a full-out attack on Heimdall, and then we find Odin's brother, whose name I can't remember, knocking on James Foster's door, and they just want her out because she's got cancer and she never shows up for her world council meetings. They think because she's got cancer and she's always puking, it's really because she's always being Lady Thor and she's not there. So they're like, hey, you got a week to get your act together and come to the council meetings, or we're going to kick you off the council. And then they find out that the Rainbow Bridge is under attack, and they're like, it's not a problem, because Heimdall's there and nobody's going to beat up Heimdall anyway. And then they, find out that he's getting his butt kicked and the whole city's under attack. And about that time, the Rainbow Bridge falls, and all of the Shi'ar Empire, what do you call those guys? The Imperial Guard.
Mm-hmm.
Imperial Guard teleport in, and they launch an all-out attack on Asgard. Thor shows up and starts going toe-to-toe with Gladiator, and he puts a beat down on her. They put a beat down on all of Asgard, and she is captured and taken back to the Shi'ar gods, which I've never seen before, to be judged for something. Dude, this is an awesome book. The art is great. Color is great. The story is great. This is a great book.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
I really enjoyed it.
What were you going to ask me?
I forgot.
Well, then.
I forgot while I was reviewing it.
All right,
I totally forgot.
Well, if you think about it.
I know one of the things is I guess Gladiator does have the power to go toe-to-toe with
Heimdall.
His power skill is whatever he believes it to be, but I guess he does have the power to go toe-to-toe with him. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Of course, this is the same guy that was taken down by Cannonball one time.
Right. Yeah. Power levels fluctuate based on what the writers need for real. So it's fine. What else was fine was Miss Marvel number 14. It was just fine. So Kamala's playing World of Warcraft or whatever and gets this weird message from one of her guildmates. So let me just stop there. You're pandering to people who play World of Warcraft and you're a comic book. Like, why are you playing with these tropes? Just call it what it is. The people reading this are the people playing World of Warcraft. Just quit making fun of us. Anyway.
I don't think they're making fun of you. I don't think that's the case.
A little bit. It's poking fun a little bit. It's fine.
I don't think so. I mean, because I think she was playing the game, and I don't. No, I don't think it was making fun of you.
Nah, I don't play World of Warcraft, but yeah.
What?
Yeah, I don't play World of Warcraft.
Okay, not right now. Okay, wait for the next expansion to come out. Then you'll be playing it for hours a week.
I didn't say I've never played World of Warcraft.
Okay, the technical answer is I'm not playing World of Warcraft this week.
I haven't played World of Warcraft in 7 months.
Because there hasn't been a recent expansion.
Actually, there has, and they're bringing out new content all the time. It's a rat race, and I'm just not in it.
Okay. So you haven't played in 7 months.
No. But that being said, I have spent a lot of time in my life playing World of Warcraft. Yeah.
And a lot of money.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I just decided, you know what? There's better things I can do with my time than grind rep with the guild of whoever the heck.
I didn't think it was making fun of them.
You're probably right. Anyway, so she thinks that someone has possibly been spying on her, and she tracks down this kid who she's in the guild with, but he had actually nothing to do with it. And now he just wants to be Miss Marvel's friend because he's a lonely nerd, and being friends with Miss Marvel's pretty cool. So instead, she comes to this conclusion that someone hacked him and is using his account to get to her, which means that they know who she is. So instead of going back home because she doesn't feel it's safe, she goes to the corner store that her and Bruno used to hang out at. She gets attacked by some machinery on the way there because they're really going with the hacker motif here. And once she makes it to the store, she finds out she's not even safe there. She's being electronically stalked by some kind of troll guy thing. And this is all a metaphor for online bullying. Not that that's a bad thing, but this is what it is. It's a metaphor for internet harassment. I mean, she's literally being harassed on the internet by a troll. So,
yeah,
but it's pretty good. This is what Miss Marvel does. It explores those issues.
Yeah.
How was Power Man and Iron Fist number 13?
I'm tempted. We're at like the hour and 20-minute mark. We try and keep this thing under an hour and a half. I'm tempted to take the next 3 books, which are Power Man and Iron Fist number 13, Rocket Raccoon number 2, The Totally Awesome Hulk number 14, and just say they all sucked.
That's fine with me, man, because they all sucked.
I mean, Power Man and Iron Fist number 13, they're just, it was okay. I mean, but the art's mediocre in this book. They're still after the Fang Gang. They got roped into a fight with the wrong person. The Totally Awesome Hulk, you still got him hanging out with what's the basketball player? Jeremy Lin. Jeremy Lin.
Whatever. He's playing
basketball. Playing basketball with Jeremy Lin. They're chasing people. He's still fighting with his sister. Rocket Raccoon is still stuck on Earth, fighting policemen.
Getting into fights, hijacking cabs.
Getting in fights, which he thinks is a spaceship,
Yeah, it's not great either. As we said earlier, none of the Guardians of the Galaxy books are good right now.
I mean, there's some good books this week, okay? The Doctor Strange book was good. Daredevil was great. Captain America was great. These three books, Power Man and Iron Fist, Rocket Raccoon, Totally Awesome Hulk, they were just bad. Okay, they were just. I mean, I can sum up all three books. They were just bad. Okay,
Yeah,
just. You can do better, Marvel.
Yeah, you really can.
You
And that's the thing is
that
like
Jeremy Lin book. You can do better than Totally Awesome Hulk, than Armadeus Cho playing basketball with Jeremy Lin.
that's been a really good book for a while. And they've taken this weird detour. Like this has been the series that's made me read the Hulk and actually enjoy it. And they take this weird detour where he plays basketball with a basketball star.
Yeah.
And what?
They talked this week at Comic-Con where they're going to take Armadeus Cho, to Awesome Hulk, and they're going to send him to Sakaar. Okay, they're going to take 6 issues and send him to Planet Hulk.
Yeah.
Okay, send him back to Sakaar. That's cool. Okay,
Yeah,
that's
I'm
a
down
good
with that.
storyline. All right, him playing basketball with Jeremy Lin for 2 issues. That's not cool.
No.
All right, that's not.
No. It's like that wrestling book from Captain America a couple weeks ago. It's filler is what it is.
Yeah, and
anyway, why don't we just move on to Squirrel Girl?
Yeah, because that was a decent book.
It actually was pretty good. We actually get to see the origin of her parents, who are totally not surprised that their daughter was born with buck teeth and a tail.
How are you not surprised when your kid comes out with a tail?
Dude, number one thing you look for. How's the kid look? Has it got a tail? No. All right. We're probably all right.
And this book is essentially the origin of Squirrel Girl, by the way.
Pretty much. Yeah, it goes from her birth to her 5th birthday party where she kind of accidentally shows off her squirrel powers and doesn't mean to. Fast forward to her 10th birthday, she's talking to her Fin Fang Foom doll that, the kids at school don't like her. Also, she has a pretty cool Ben Grimm Clobber in Time clock that I want. And according to Ben Grimm, it's always clobber in time. She discovers she can talk to squirrels. She saves one from a dog. She kind of starts coming under her Squirrel Girl persona. She comes up with Squirrel Girl later on, which, by the way, and we've talked about this before. You see her in her old uniform and then her new uniform later on that she's been wearing. She's only 20, as we see in this book. How old was she when her and Logan had a thing?
Don't ask.
Because that's still canon.
Don't ask.
Yeah, anyway, that's gross. So at 15, Bruce Banner falls out of the sky in her yard, and she has to help the Hulk fight the Abomination, which is when she decides to become a superhero. And then another 5 years later, she's having her 20th birthday party, and all the Avengers showed up, and everybody's happy to see Squirrel Girl. And the Red Skull shows up, and he's like, "Oh crap, you're all here," and gets his butt kicked. And hooray, Squirrel Girl.
Yeah. Let's say it was 18. Okay.
Okay. We'll say it was 18.
Because she was in college at the time.
We'll hope it was 18. Anyway, we're making a big deal of this, but it was actually a pretty good book. What was also good is over in the Star Wars universe, we had Poe Dameron number 10. So last issue we saw where they Poe Dameron and C-3PO get ambushed by this street gang on this planet. And the street gang thinks they have the upper hand on them, but that's actually not the case, because if you remember, C-3PO is the spy master of the galaxy, apparently, when it comes to droids. And all these droids just show up out of nowhere and threaten the gang members to drop their weapons. So they're able to narrowly escape that. They meet up with their contact, who has their information, who of course is another droid. But the contact won't give up the information until he's safe at the rebel base. So they've got to figure out how to get this droid off the planet. Meanwhile, Agent Terrax is apparently got some sort of history on this planet. He used to actually be the leader of this gang that Poe Dameron ran across until he went to work with the First Order. And he's quite literally putting the old band back together.
Literally, yes.
Yeah, he's taking over his territory as the gang member of the gang leader of the planet. We actually get a really cool little flashback where he makes his big power grab. And it kind of looks like he was like ruler of the planet for a minute until he found out about the First Order and decided to go join them. So Agent Terrax has found out that Poe Dameron's here, puts out a planet-wide notification that he'll reward anybody who brings in Poe Dameron. They have to fight through the streets of the planet to get to their ship. They take off with their intelligence. Meanwhile, their other buddy, who has been oddly quiet and suspicious this whole time, has run off and is spying on Agent Terrax. And I have this feeling that he's not everything we think he is. Adi Mulva, this alien-looking dude that came with him.
Right.
Because we know that there's a mole in the Resistance that's feeding information to the First Order. We just don't know who it is. And the quiet guys, it's always the quiet ones. I just got a feeling. Anyway, this is pretty good too. I've enjoyed this whole story. This whole, like, getting to know this Poe Dameron character is really cool.
I have too. Let's talk about Star Wars for a moment.
Yeah.
I have, we have a new canon now. Yeah. And I have a little bit of, not a lot, just a little bit. Every now and then I pick up a book and I read it because they're Disney, Marvel, same thing, is coming at you from two different directions. They're coming at you, with Rogue One, which came out on Netflix this week, is between episodes 3 and 4.
Right.
And there are comic books that are between episodes 3 and 4. And there are comic books that are between episodes 4 and 5.
Yeah.
And then this Poe Dameron book is after episode 7.
No,
before it's before episode 7.
Yeah, it directly leads up to episode 4.
So it's directly leads up to episode
7. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
See,
great. Yeah. See, that's okay. That's my point. Is it's just I have trouble sometimes figuring out where these things are in the timeline. And it just gets a little bit confusing occasionally. I was watching the Force Awakens the other day, and sometimes I just get trouble keeping track of these characters, keeping track of these comic books and where they are in the whole timeline. I'm enjoying them. I love them. They're great. It's just keeping track of where everything is in the timeline.
Yeah, where it all fits in the story.
Right. It's not like the 616 universe where you just pick it up and read it and, no, in theory, it all fits together.
Right.
It's a little bit confusing sometimes where all these things do and don't fit together.
Well, you're telling multiple stories at different times in the timeline. So
right.
it can get confusing. And then you even get, Clone Wars and post-Clone Wars stuff.
Right.
Like that new Darth Vader series is going to be directly after episode 3. It's basically going to be Vader rounding up any leftover Jedi.
Right. That's not to say I'm not enjoying them. I'm just, every now and then it gets confusing.
No, it's great stuff. It's also really hard when you were well versed in the Star Wars canon that used to be before they were acquired by Marvel and that's been wiped out now. And so now you're having to piece together the new stuff, but you're also like, wait, didn't this happen? Wait, no, that it did, but not anymore. Like, you have to balance that stuff.
Right.
So, yeah, it can be a little confusing if you don't have encyclopedic knowledge of the Star Wars universe.
Like you.
I have encyclopedic knowledge of a number of fictional universes in my head. So yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Anyway, what was your
Yeah.
favorite this week?
I'll be honest with you. It was Full Killer number 3.
There you go.
I really enjoy Max Bemis's writing in this. I think he's excelling, and that the tone that this book has is definitely, that's his influence on the book.
Yeah, there you go. Mine's a toss-up between Daredevil 15 and Captain America number 9. Probably Daredevil 15.
Yeah, that's a good one too. That was a highlight this week.
Yeah,
definitely put it in the top 5 or 10.
Yeah.
Yep. In the dump this week, we're going to be the dump and the classic read are the same because these are actually some decent Iron Man books from the late 90s.
This is Iron Man series, what, 3?
I believe so. You get a random Thor annual, and then you get Iron Man 37, which was published in 98. And it runs through...
It's not a random Thor annual. That is a Thor Atlantis Attacks annual. Come on, man.
Whatever. It runs through Iron Man number 55. So I really enjoy the art in this. It's just a cool time for, like, it's late 90s art, and it's a cool time for this Iron Man stuff. But also, this is one of the books where you can see where that 90s art style begins transforming into the early 2000s style and what we know today in comic books, what's modern today.
Yeah,
it's neat to watch the transition. Tell me about the Thor annual.
Oh, I don't care. It's just It's an Atlantis Attacks annual.
Okay.
I'm just waiting for the day when they get like all 24 annuals, and then they put up in the Discover tab Atlantis Attacks, and you can read all 24 annuals.
Yeah. Hey, Mark Bagley did some pencil work in this Mighty Thor issue.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there you go. So that pretty much wraps up for this week. If you want to get in touch with us, feel free to email us at 6monthsbehind@gmail.com. That's the number 6monthsbehind@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at 6monthsbehind. Please visit our website where you can find all the notes.
www.6monthsbehind.com.
And be sure to check out our other podcast, What's Next, where we tell you what you should be reading in the Marvel Unlimited app, things that maybe you haven't gotten around to, things that maybe you didn't know you should read, the hidden gems. That's what that show is all about. It's also much shorter than this show, especially this week.
Yes.
Pat, before we go, do you have any wisdom to share with our true believers?
If I'm silent, it's because there's thunder inside of me. Or I'm just chilling. It depends. May the odds ever be in your favor.
All right. That okay. Hopefully we'll go with the latter. All right. We'll see you guys next week.
Peace.